we're all here this evening because we care about our children's future careers and what they are going to do. And so all of those areas that we focused on and been talking about this evening are areas that we ourselves as parents have to be able to demonstrate when we're talking with our child. And so I mentioned at the beginning that we were very into interactive experiences on our programs. I'm going to be looking for some volunteers. So let's start and reuse that SNEAK framework. Skills. Simon talked about when we talk about our skills, we should be using that STAR technique as a framework for discussing it. So I'm going to ask if there are any brave volunteers in the audience, if you put up your hand for me, and if you could give me an example of a time that you have demonstrated leadership as a skill. Miriam, can I ask you, I'll let you talk, if you could also give an example of a time that you've demonstrated leadership using our STAR technique as your framework.
Hi, yes, let me get an example for you. I have used this technique. We do use the STAR in our place of work and find it really useful, actually, as a technique. So I'm very much involved in setting up a new team. And part of that, so that would be the situation, is forming a new team. The task is around setting up the framework for that team. Mm-hmm. And as part of that action, I have to understand the scope and set the direction. So it's very much of a collaborative affair. Mm-hmm. So it's working across the business to understand what is the strategy, what are the drivers, what is the key business goal, so that I can look to set the vision for the team and work my way down with the strategy. The result is you get a structure for where you're going, and also by working collaboratively, you get people to buy in. So it's not a sort of a one-way street. It's very much working together to create that direction for a new team. And it could be just a project team as well. So I've got some experience of doing that. And reflecting back is always a good opportunity just to ask, how did that go, as little checkpoints throughout that journey. What could we have done better? What could we improve? Did we miss anything? Have we missed a key stakeholder, for example, or have we not looked at something from a certain angle, and bringing that in? So it's very much of an iterative process.
Oh, brilliant. Miriam, I've got to say that was a textbook example of use of the STAR technique right there. And I would say, so thank you so much for that. And I suppose being able to do that with yourself, and I suppose probably before you start having conversations with your children, means that you feel a bit more prepped for then asking them to do the same thing with you when you're sitting and having those conversations with them. So we've done skills, let's move on to network. And again, keep your hand up if you want to answer, but I'm sort of curious to hear from you all here this evening. In terms of using your personal network, do you have any examples of how you used your network to the benefit of your child for work experience or developing that understanding of a career area? Emma, I can see that your hand is still up, so I'm going to ask you to be able to talk, so you should be able to unmute yourself.
Like if you're a football captain, you have to show leadership to move your players and that about.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Exactly right. Perfect. And does anyone have any examples then otherwise of kind of using their network to the benefit of their child? Anita, I can see that you've got your hand up as well.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Anita. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi. Yeah. So, yeah, really just what was mentioned before about talking to family members and work colleagues to see if their wider networks had any availability. So my son's still 15, so still, considering different types of career choices at the moment, but he's honing in a little bit on certain careers, and so I'm just sort of trying to pick out in my social network and family network on who I'd be able to ask for advice, possible shadowing and things like that.
Yeah, fantastic. No, exactly. And I would 100% agree there and say oftentimes, particularly when we talk to students as well, who aren't sure where they want to go and what they want to do, and that is, you know, a large contingent of young people, the most valuable thing that they can do is talk to as many people as possible across as many different careers as possible. And so then I'm curious to hear as well, obviously Simon mentioned during this pandemic, traditional work experience and placements have been incredibly hard to come by. It would be great to hear if anyone does have any examples, and are happy to talk about them, about personal projects that their children might have developed or they might have worked with their children on during this pandemic that they think will benefit their future career. Rachel, I can see that your hand is currently up, so I'm going to ask you to unmute if that's all right. Oh, Rachel, I see your hand's gone down. If you're happy to answer though.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Mine was probably just your last example, but it was a clear one. I had a child interested in training into occupational therapy.
Okay.
I was on a course with an occupational therapist. Through her network, she was able to get my daughter work experience. That was crucial for her in securing an interview application at university, and was able to really ace that opportunity for her. But I wouldn't have been able to do that without those network links.
No, fantastic, exactly. And I feel like oftentimes people are quite self-conscious about asking that of people who maybe they're not, you know, best friends with or might not have as family members. But of course, as we always say to our students, the worst thing you can do is ask and someone says no. And I feel like that's exactly the same principle here, is that if you know people or you've met people on courses or in your daily life, the worst you can do is ask them if they can create an opportunity for your child. And if we briefly then just go back to experience, so if anyone has any examples of personal projects a child has undertaken. Jenny, I can see that your hand is up, so I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Oh, hi everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you perfectly.
Cool. So I was very lucky that I was working with a charity, Smart Works, and they're a lovely charity. They help women come back into work, disadvantaged women.
Yeah.
And I was literally taking clothes to them, and I asked if they could help my son have some experience for his Duke of Edinburgh award, and they were absolutely fantastic. And he went in every day and worked for it was about 10 weeks for an hour.
Yeah.
And they gave a fantastic report, and it was just by me giving clothes to a charity.
Oh, fantastic. Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly the kind of, I suppose, bravery that we have to demonstrate to go and ask for those experiences, and also just, you know, the chance of where life takes us with that sort of thing. Thank you so much, Jenny. And so then, before we move into our panel, we've looked at all of these different areas, and I hope that you guys have some key takeaways now that you can sort of take with you moving forward. And I would say that one of the most fundamental things that, you know, we talk to students about, and I would pass on as a parent as well, is that what you need to do is to create a careers conversation as part of, sort of the DNA of your daily lives. Because what we found is that when a student starts to think about their career, it's a very sort of, as I said, far off, nebulous concept. But if we can get them to start thinking about it as an urgent thing, as a ongoing thing, something that's already started and is already fundamental to them, then that's how we can get them to start really embracing, developing all of those different skill areas that we've been talking about.